Okay, I'm here with Brian Gott. We're here in Denver at Green Valley Ranch, which is where Brian Gott Golf. He's one of the top club fitters in America, and he's one of my staff members. And so we're going to talk to Brian a little bit more about club fitting, because we did one of these before and everybody really liked it. So we're going to let him expand a little bit more on what actually club fitting is, what it isn't, what you need to be careful with. So Brian, relative to most people, why get your clubs fitted?
Well,
and the other thing, why do you guys do what you do?
well, because imagine you and I walk into Men's Warehouse and we pick the same suit off the rack. What's the chances that same suit's going to fit both of us?
Not good.
It might get better. So club fitting is the same thing. The club's got to be tailored for what you do with your golf swing.
Okay.
You and I don't swing the club the same way. We might like the same golf club, but we're going to play completely different shafts. So a lot of what we do is we want to tailor it to the golf swing. It doesn't really matter where your ability level is. You still deserve to get fit for clubs. Even if you're a beginner, you got to have the proper length. You got to have the proper weight. You got to have a shaft that can help you deliver that club head back to square with the easiest possible execution. So
And then do you guys do lie and loft also?
we do. That's a process that happens after your clubs are built. We dynamically fit lie angle for every golf club. So when you come back in to pick up your clubs after we build them, that's when we go through the lie angle process.
Okay.
We do them right here. You hit every single one of them off a board, and then we adjust them right here on site, as opposed to just measuring one. And as there's no standard in the industry, a lot of people come to us and say, well, I'm 2 degrees upright. Well, we don't know what that means because there's no standard. Titleist is different than TaylorMade versus Callaway, and they change model to model, year to year.
Well, and I've been teaching a long time. I also know that most people, as the club gets longer, they swing different.
Absolutely.
They go at it a different
Right.
way, which changes what statically is correct, dynamically doesn't work anymore.
Right.
So, okay, so what is for most people, if you list of priorities, what's the number one in club fitting, the number one most important
So the
thing?
biggest priority is we go to the shaft first
Okay.
in irons. So number one we have is length. Okay, we've got to have the proper length. Do you have more control with your pitching wedge or your forehand?
Pitching wedge,
Do you know why?
shorter,
Correct, sure. Closer to your body, it's easier to get the ball back to square.
right,
Good performance comes from on-center strikes.
right,
So as long as you're hitting the center of the club face and the face is pointed in the correct direction, we're going to get good results. So number one's length. Number two, and this is the most important, is total weight.
okay,
Total weight's influenced with shaft. A lot of head weights are very similar. So if I take any 7-iron from any manufacturer, they're going to be within a few grams of each other.
okay,
So the shaft's how we influence total weight. And the reason that's important, imagine I were to hand you a tennis ball and a ping pong ball and ask you to throw both of them. Which one would you have more control with?
the tennis ball,
Do you know why?
it's a little heavier.
Right, you feel it.
I can feel it, yeah.
You go to throw that ping pong ball back, you're not quite sure where it's at. Now what if I hand you a little medicine ball, same size? Yeah, it might feel good for a couple throws, and then what happens?
I break my
Start getting a
arm.
little bit tired, right? Start making mistakes. So we try to do the same thing with a golf club. I want to reduce as much weight as I can so you can generate a little bit of speed,
Right,
but I want you under control. And one of the biggest things we do when we do our shaft fittings is everything is blind. I won't tell you what you're hitting. All of the iron heads will be the same. And then what we do is we gather some launch monitor data. Obviously, we get to see what the golf ball is doing because we are doing it outside.
right,
But then what I do is I look at the dispersions with each shaft that I hand you as I kind of go up and down the scale. And we look for the tightest dispersions.
See, that's what was interesting when I was here last time. And folks, we put it on the site, and I hope you looked at it, because for me personally, my entire career, I've always played 120 or 125 gram shafts. And people have been trying since I've gotten, oh, you got to go lighter and more club head speed. And I tried it, and I did create a little more club head speed. But I didn't play as well with them. So when you did that little test with me last time, it was obvious that 125 gram shaft, my dispersion rate went, yeah, my distance came down just a little, but that
your
dispersion
dispersions got tighter.
I mean, it went from this to that, which I'll give up 5 yards if I know I'm going to hit it straighter.
Right. Well, the problem is a lot of people come in with misconceptions, right? Well, I need this shaft because it's got this kind of torque, or it's got a high kick point, low kick point, whatever it might be. But all that matters is where the golf ball ends up, and it's distance control.
Right.
Okay, you need to know how far your 7-iron goes. If it goes 120 yards, which is a crude example, it's your 120-yard club. Don't try to make it go 150. If you want to play good,
Right.
if you want to struggle,
Then try to make
don't worry about how far your buddy hits his 7-iron. Get your irons dialed in so you know how far they go. And that's another thing most golfers don't know is how far their golf clubs go.
Yeah, see, that's it's interesting how we have 14 clubs in our bag. There's a reason you have 14 clubs. Okay, so from the average person, now we all are members of clubs or they have club fittings and they come out. So you guys obviously are at a whole different level. And what's the downside of being fit just out of a cart from with one manufacturer?
So they do a pretty good job with the carts.
Yeah.
You're dealing with a different connector system, so it's not exactly like the true golf club. But if you've got a golf pro that understands the fitting part of it,
Right.
they can do a pretty good job.
Okay.
They've got a pretty good shaft assortment. At the level that we're at, we actually, since we build everything here in-house and we just buy components, is I can put whatever shaft in whatever head. You won't necessarily have that opportunity. So when you're comparing a TaylorMade versus a Callaway, you may not be able to get the same exact shaft.
Right.
So it's not necessarily an apples-to-apples comparison.
So you can get close.
You get close, yeah.
So-
Some of these guys do a pretty good job. A lot of the manufacturers are doing a better job of training
Right.
golf pros. So the guys that really want to get into it can learn a little bit, and you can do a decent job. But we specialize in it here, and plus doing it outside, we get to actually see what the golf ball does.
So then you would basically recommend anybody who's serious about playing golf, I mean, even from kind of a beginner to a tour player, which they are fanatics about their clubs. I mean, I've seen a few guys come in here this week, so we're playing this Colorado, trying to get you to do this, do that.
Right.
I want 1 degree of this, I want that. I got a little, do a little of this, do a little of that. I'm not quite sure they can really feel some of that difference, but for the average player, then it's valuable to find out if this club is really something that I can use.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is, Mike, is tour players for us are the easiest to fit because they come in here and all they want to see is a ball flight.
Okay.
They don't care what I do to it, what shaft I put in it, what grip, how I twist it. Doesn't matter. Put a pink bow on it.
If the ball
If
starts,
the ball takes off the way they want it to and has the shot shape they want, that's all they care. So what they tell me is, okay, I don't like that's exiting a little bit too far to the right. I need to see a little higher ball flight. I want it. Then I can make my adjustments. The problem is we get some folks in here that read a lot of stuff on the internet, and they think they've gotten a lot of good information,
right.
which is why our process is blind. Because I want people to see it without having that preconceived notion in their brain. Because you can talk yourself into anything.
I need a stiff shaft.
Exactly.
Or I need a mid flex, or I need a low.
Which a lot of our stuff is completely unmarked.
I like that.
So.
It was interesting when at TaylorMade, I do a lot of work there. A lot of the guys come in, and a lot of their shafts are unmarked, and a lot of the superstar players that come in just start hitting shafts, just hitting clubs, and that's what I will do when I go there. I don't even look at what it says on the shaft. I'll just take a driver head out and I'll hit it, and I'll put a different shaft in it. And I'm just putting. All of a sudden, I'll hit one, and I'm going,
Yep, that's the one I want.
this is really good. And then I'll say, this is what I want. And they look at it a lot of times. Now, I tend to go less flex or less stiffness and heavier, which you would go, why would you do that? Well, I'm going because I hit it well.
Right.
And they go, well, that's maybe not the right shaft for you. And I go, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Because this is the one, because it fits my tendencies. So I don't really care what it says on the shaft. Again, it's more about, which I found that interesting what you said. I've never really cared what the shaft said. I cared what I was doing with the ball. And you're saying most pros come in, they are looking for a ball flight, and amateurs already have a preconceived notion.
They want to get technical about what's this, what's that, what does this tip do, what does this butt section do. They're so tied up in what's my club head speed. They want to know how far the ball went before it even lands on the ground.
So if somebody comes in and they say, I need a stiff shaft with a mid flex and I need this length, and you give it to them, they hit it, and then you give them a regular shaft that's a different length, and they hit it better, they may not take it because it doesn't fit their preconceived notion.
We do have to go through that. That's why I start off blind, because once they see the results, it's usually typically easier to change their mind to be like, okay, well, maybe this really is what I need, as opposed to I hand them a softer shaft. Oh no, well, my club head speed's this, so I need this shaft. That is not a correlation where we
So
start.
club head speed isn't necessarily a correlation to what shaft you
Look at a guy like Ernie Els.
Yeah,
He generates a lot of speed,
yeah.
but he delivers it at a different place.
He loads it totally different than most.
Most higher handicap players expend a lot of energy up top. By the time the shaft gets back to the golf ball, it's done working. And when it's done working, that flex now becomes a feel part of it. Where you look at a guy's tour players that deliver the ball and they generate their speed down low, which is the stuff we like to teach. That's where the shaft's going to have more impact, is where are you loading the shaft?
Yeah.
Most people load it way back here, and by the time it gets here, most of the energy is gone behind the ball. So it becomes a feel thing.
So when you're looking at your clubs, folks, and if you have questions, put them in the Ask Mikes, put them on the site, because we want to make sure that when you go to look for clubs or you're going to get fit, that you have a good idea of what the fitting should be and what's going to fit you the best. Because that preconceived notion, I get people all the time that show up and they go, I want to hit your driver. I'm going, I'm not sure why you want to hit my driver. Well, I just want to see what it feels like. Well, but you don't swing like I swing. So in other words, a lot of these preconceived notions, if your club head speed with the driver's 100 or 90, then you need a stiff shaft or whatever, or you need this weight. No, go there, get fit, find what makes you hit the ball better. It doesn't matter what it says on the shaft. Does not matter. It's about playing the game better. So take a look at those things, send in your questions. We'll be glad to answer them.
Also, one other thing, if you're not able to make it to Denver and come see us, you can certainly reach out to me if you're on the East Coast or down south, and I can certainly make a recommendation of a reputable club fitter. I'm part of a whole network of guys, and I'd be happy to make a recommendation if you can't make it here.
So go to gottgolf.com. This is invaluable things, folks. I mean, now we're giving you information. You can find somebody in your area that Brian, who's been around and is one of the top fitters in the country, he's going to send you to somebody that he knows is going to give you the fitting type of things that he does. I trust him because he's with me. He's helping me with my clubs. So this is all about not only playing golf, but understanding it, not only getting clubs, but understanding what really fits you.